Первым делом мы поменяли окна. Наконец-то решились. Предприятие, конечно, затратное, но тем не менее. Утеплили балкон. Вот сейчас утепляем стену, внешнюю стену. Ну, купили электрический обогреватель. Вот надеемся, не замерзнем.
Pay up, or the gas taps are turned off forever. That's the current threat Ukraine faces from Russia, which is telling Ukraine they owe $3.9 billion to resume natural gas supplies. With gas supplies from Russia already halted and emergency gas flows from Hungary now stopped, Ukraine is facing critical energy shortages this winter. Sun News contributor John Robson joins us now with the latest. Hey, John, I mean, this is pure political extortion. Gazprom, the largest natural gas company in the world, is 51% controlled by the Kremlin. So this is not an economic decision or a business decision. This is a political decision by Russia to put more economic pressure on Ukraine as an act of war.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Virtually every significant company in Russia is controlled by the government, even if it is not. The Russian economy is unfortunately largely a kleptocracy. There was just a remarkable article in the New York Times about an entity called Bank Russia, Russia Bank, which was quite small until fairly recently, but which is known as the bank of Putin's inner circle. And as the sanctions started to bite, suddenly all kinds of companies, including the electric monopoly, suddenly decided that they would switch their business to Bank Russia. So everything virtually of significance that happens in the Russian economy happens because Vladimir Putin decrees that it should happen. And this is no exception. But it is, I think, an example of Putin overplaying his hand, because an important tool of Russian foreign policy lately has been European dependence, not just Ukrainian, but German as well, on natural gas from Russia. And this is one of these things where, like in chess, the threat is stronger than the execution. As long as you threaten to cut it off, they have to be very careful about offending you. But if you actually cut it off, then they've got to find a supply somewhere else. They cannot live with a threat that is that open. I mean, in Ukraine, of course, is being dismembered by Russia, so the velvet gloves are off. But if Russia were ever to stop the gas flow to Germany, that would be the end of any kind of rapprochement between Germany and Russia. German citizens would demand it. And doing it to Ukraine tells the Europeans, you better find another source. I know what you're thinking. They better start fracking, and you're quite right. But if not that, nuclear power, something, because the bully has gotten completely out of hand at this point. Vladimir Putin doesn't know when to stop.
Well, I mean, why should he stop? Just the other day, Germany, you mentioned Germany, the largest consumer of Russian energy in Europe. A third of their energy comes from Russia. They just announced an extension of their ban on fracking, I think till the year 2021, if memory serves. So why would Vladimir Putin think he can't keep pushing? The former chancellor of Germany, Gerhard Schroeder, is on a Gazprom board. I mean, just stop and think about it. That would be as if, George W. Bush went to join, I don't know, the board of Saudi Aramco and lobbied against the Keystone XL pipeline. So brazenly obvious, Gerhard Schroeder was for sale. I mean, Germany, I don't think, has woken up to the fact that it is forced into this submissive alliance with Putin through energy economics. They just renewed that.
Yeah, well, they haven't, because they haven't had their gas cut off yet. But what's happening to Ukraine, and this is going to be an increasing policy problem, does the West, which promised in glowing terms to rescue Ukraine, find some solution to Ukraine's energy problem? And if they do, what is it? Is Germany going to start sending their natural gas to Ukraine? Or are they going to watch Ukrainians freezing in the winter and increased mortality rates and all kinds of negative consequences from that and be able to do nothing? That doesn't work too well either. And of course, inside NATO meetings, you can bet the United States is saying, guys, you haven't got, a pointed stick in your arsenal. You're not helping us very much in Iraq. You've got to do something on Ukraine. You can't just deal with these people. And Putin also, now that he's got so much of Ukraine, he's got to govern it and govern it in such a way that the people are happy about these events 3 or 4 years down the road. It's Genghis Khan allegedly said that it is easy to conquer a kingdom on horseback. The hard thing is to dismount and rule it. And Putin's got that problem. These bold moves against a squabbling and apparently paralyzed West are one thing. But once you win, what do you do with the victory? And if you just keep upping the confrontation, the Russian foreign minister on Sunday said it was time for another reset in its relationship with the United States. But he went on to say, and it's up to Washington to do it. We've done nothing wrong. So they're really getting a little out of control. They've lost sight of how the world sees them. And something like this it seems so smart. Oh, we're going to crush Ukraine into dust now. But there's a morning after on this one. Are they really going to not supply natural gas to Ukraine during the winter?
Well, in 2006, they pulled the plug. 2009, they pulled the plug again this year. So, I mean, if 06 and 09, there would have been a dramatic response from the West. But listen, Vladimir Putin shot down a civilian airliner. He himself didn't, but his proxies using his weapons did. And there still has been no sanctions as a result of murdering hundreds of civilians. Why does anyone think that the West will be roused to some action over a $3.9 billion, ransom? I am not as sanguine as you. I think that Europe has lost its will to fight. I think they're still in the thrall of Greenpeace. And, because of the Fukushima tsunami, they shut down a bunch of nukes in Europe, even though Fukushima worked perfectly. No one was actually killed there. The only two people who died there died from the flood. And yet they have de-energized. As you mentioned NATO, the Secretary General of NATO, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, said that Russia is infiltrating and supporting anti-fracking groups just to keep Europe dependent. Last word to you.
Yeah, well, this has been going on all along, but when cornered by reality, the Europeans do tend to react, as they did to the Russian missile buildup in the 1980s. They have imposed sanctions. One of the reasons all these business was being directed to Bank Rossiya is because it was suffering from the sanctions. I say Putin is overplaying his hand, and I think that in the end, he will bitterly regret it.
Huh. Well, I hope you're right, John. I don't think that the United States is as forceful in rallying Europe against Putin. I mean, and I just want to throw one more thing at you. I remember after Russia forcefully and violently militarily invaded Ukraine, Barack Obama phoned Vladimir Putin to congratulate him on some sports event. I swear to God that happened. I don't think Barack Obama is the strong one here. We don't have Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, or Pope John Paul II. I think we're leaderless. Enough of my rant, John. Great to see you again.